manager at Madame Tussauds in London. This is Madame Tussauds, and not only is it a figure of Madame Tussauds made by any sculptor, it's a self-portrait that Madame Tussauds herself made just 8 years before she died. Well, it depends who's in and who's out at any one time, but there are around 350 wax figures in the attraction here. To make one figure takes between 3 and 6 months. It depends who it is, how much hair they have, how much flesh is showing. And it costs about £52,000 just to make one figure because there's so much detailed work involved. Usually, Madame Tussauds decides who they want to make a wax figure of, and we phone them up, and people consider it a great honour. People don't usually approach Madame Tussauds and say, will you make a figure of me, because that would seem a bit big-headed. However, Mike Tyson, the boxer, once phoned and asked if we would make a wax figure of him. And we thought, well, okay, you're famous, we'll make a figure of you. And we just started work when he was put into jail, so we never finished that figure of Mike Tyson. We've never had anybody offering money for a figure of themselves, but we did about 2 years ago. A gentleman offered £2 million for the wax figure of Kylie Minogue, but we said no. We weren't sure what he wanted to do with the wax figure of Kylie, so we said no, sorry. Madame Tussauds gets about 2 million visitors every year, and that's from all over the world. People from the UK, from the States, from every country you can imagine. I think Madame Tussauds has got something for everybody. So for the smaller children, they've got cartoon figures like the Incredible Hulk. For teenagers, we've got the new shows running so they can learn to sing and dance like Beyoncé or Kylie Minogue. And for more mature people who are interested in the history, we have all these kings and queens and political figures. So I really think there is something for everybody. When we make each wax figure, if the personality is still alive, then they're invited to come in and see the figure and see what they think of themselves. And we get some quite strange reactions because I think famous people are used to seeing themselves in magazines, on the television, but they're not used to seeing themselves in 3D and to be able to walk around themselves. So I think people are always very flattered. We haven't had any complaints so far. So I think most people, if they thought that there was something wrong, like their nose is too big, they probably wouldn't tell us anyway because they think it was a reflection on themselves. Elvis Presley, depends what age you decide to portray somebody who is so famous, and I think everybody has a different idea of how their hero or idol looks. So some people will say, to me, that's nothing like Elvis Presley, whereas others will say, yeah, that's exactly the same as Elvis Presley. It's very subjective. I think it just depends on the image that you form in your head of somebody, especially if you've never met them in real life. It's very difficult. We always get damage at Madame Tussauds, and one of the reasons for that is because we encourage visitors to actually get up close to the figures, to give them a hug and have their pictures taken with them. Sometimes we get people who come along and try and snap the noses off or the fingers. People want to take fingers home as a souvenir. But I think the most damage we have is when we put in somebody new, somebody very popular. So when we put in Jennifer Lopez, for example, the damage was all here because everybody wanted to touch her famous bottom and the fabric on her dress started to wear away. The same thing happened with Brad Pitt. When we put in the American movie star Brad Pitt, the girls went mad and they all want to kiss him. So we found on his cheek the colour came away where all these girls were kissing him. But we have a studio team and their job is to start about 4 o'clock every morning. They come in before we open to the public and they go around, check every single figure's looking good, redo the hair, redo the makeup if necessary. And if someone's very badly damaged, then we have to take them out for the day and mend a finger or a nose and then just pop them back as soon as possible. The most popular figures at Madame Tussauds are probably Princess Diana. She's still very popular. Queen of England is very popular. Jennifer Lopez with the males, very popular. And Brad Pitt with the ladies. They're probably the most popular at the moment. I love working here because there's always something different happening. And quite often you'll be walking around and you'll see somebody famous and you'll think, hang on, is that a wax figure or is that a real person? Because quite often some of the celebrities that we have here come in and bring their families or their friends to show them the wax figure. So you never know who you're going to meet. It's very exciting. No way, no way. Because when we measure up the celebrities, we ask them to remove as much clothing as they feel comfortable with. They take every single measurement. So I wouldn't like to do that. I'd be too shy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,